Hey guys, it's Tim and this is Wrestling Unlimited, as tonight was the AEW Revolution pay-per-view from the Chase Center in San Francisco, California. And before I even get started, my quick thoughts on the show. I'm not going to say I hated the show. I really enjoyed most of the show, but there were some things I did not like most of that main event. And probably you know what? I'm just going to say it. I probably didn't care for or like the things that most people liked on this show. Most people liked the Texas Death. Well, we'll get into the Texas Death match. That was a very decisive match. Decisive as far as you either loved it or you hated it. Most people were not in the middle. There was a lot of no mid. There was no mid. As far as the main event goes, I see people praising this as the greatest Iron Man match of all time. I can name so many Iron Man matches that I personally liked better. I mean, Shawn, Brett, WrestleMania. Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, SmackDown. Triple H, Rock, Judgment Day. AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Bound for Glory. I even liked Bayley, Sasha and their Iron Man match, or Iron Woman match, better than this one tonight. Because of all the bullshit. And don't even get me started on bleeding in AEW. AEW overdoes blood so much that it means nothing. It means zero. Blood is supposed to intensify the match. And when you have guys like Mox bleeding in every match, bleeding in a random match with Evil Uno, it means nothing. Blood almost means nothing in AEW. Especially when you see a guy hand the blade back over to the referee, MJF and Bryce Remsburg. But regardless, we'll get into all that when we get into all that. Overall, I did think this was a good show, a really good show. There was just things for me that I wasn't the demo of, and so I can't call it great. But with that, I want to say thank you if you're watching live, whether that's youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited or twitch.tv/PW Unlimited. Also remember, if you are watching, or if you're not watching live, then you might be watching youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited or listening on podcast services all around the globe like Stitcher, Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, and so much more. Remember, if you are watching live on Twitch, you can help us out a couple of different ways. You can either help us out by hitting that donate button down below or by donating Twitch bits in the live chat. Also, remember, you can help us out by subscribing to the channel one of two different ways. You can either subscribe with a tiered subscription, or you can subscribe with Amazon Prime, because remember, if you have Amazon Prime, then you have Prime Gaming. Prime Gaming gives you a lot of cool things like free games, free stuff for games, and they always give you one free subscription to any Twitch channel you want to subscribe to throughout the month, and I'd greatly appreciate it if you did right here, Pro Wrestling Unlimited. But also remember that you can get free games with it as well. Free games like Baldur's Gate, like Space Crew, like Tunchi. You can even get one hand clapping. You can get DKO, Divine Knockout, which is a really fun game. Metal Slug, King of Fighters 2003, and so much more. Also, it looks like Cole Cabana was not at AEW Revolution tonight. He's streaming on Twitch right now playing Fall Guys. How long has he been live for? He's been live for about an hour. Also, remember, you can go over to YouTube and support us over there as well by becoming a channel member. As a channel member, you get early access to news, early access podcast episodes, early access to non-news videos, and so much more. Finally, head over to the Epic Game Store. Head over to the Epic Game Store and buy something. Whether you're buying a new game, whether you're buying an old game, whether you're claiming one of the free games or getting bucks for Rocket League, Fortnite, Fall Guys, or Rumbleverse, you can use our code PW Unlimited at checkout. Code right here to support us at no extra cost. Again, put in code PWU NLIMITED at no extra cost to support us on the Epic Game Store, whether that's an Epic Game Store purchase on your computer or something for Epic games like Fortnite, Rocket League, or Fall Guys on your PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, mobile device, or Xbox. Also, this podcast, this review, is brought to you by the brand new game in progress, in development, Ultra Pro Wrestling. But we'll talk about that later. As far as the show itself does go, and Killjoy Army in the YouTube chat says, say I'm about to sneeze. Oh, that got me. Says blood ruins a match. Not always. I wouldn't say that. Remember the submission match? WrestleMania 13, Brett Austin? That blood really helped that match. But that's because WWF was not having guys bleed on every single show. Every week you tuned in, you weren't seeing blood. Blood was something you saw sparingly. Sparingly. Not every single week. Moxley is ruining blood in AEW and what the blood is supposed to represent and do. Intensify the match. But when you have Jon Moxley bleeding in every match, bleeding on every show he's on, in just random ass matches. Again, he busted open Evil Uno and then he bled after the match just because, I haven't bled yet. I gotta bleed. I don't know. I just don't get it. They're overdoing the blood, and it's not meaning and doing what it's supposed to do for matches. And it's just my opinion, but I've seen a lot of other people say the same thing as well. But as far as the show does go, we did have a match on the kickoff show, the 0 hour. Only one match. Usually we get 3. We only got 1 because they had Renee Young and RJ City host the rest of it, just running everything down. Very WWE. Except for we didn't have a full panel of people. We had talking heads and people showing up like, who was it? Dan House and Orange Cassidy were with RJ City at one point. We had Britt Baker with Renee. We had Don Callis with Renee. Tony Storm was in the back with RJ City. And yeah, so. As far as the match that took place, though, it was Mark Briscoe and the Lucha Bros taking on the Varsity Athletes and Ari Daivari. Huge ovation for Mark Briscoe and the Lucha Bros before Sterling introduced his team like it was a basketball team, which is actually kind of cool. Things then broke down after a triple face-off early, where with Nice suffering a triple team before Phoenix and Briscoe wiped out Woods and Daivari on the floor. There was a maiden penta that connected on Nice as he narrowly escaped a 2 count. Sterling ran distraction long enough for the team to gain control on Penta, who was isolated for an extended period of time until Penta did a Cazadora on Woods into a double DDT on Nice and Daivari. There was a sling blade that led to Phoenix's hot tag. He ran wild, as well he should. There was a fast series of super kicks on Woods that led to a tornado off the top, but Woods hit a pump kick in midair. There was a gnarly spinning brainbuster in the corner from Woods, allowing him to tag in Nice. Phoenix then fought out of a fireman's carry on the second rope and turned it into a Hurricane Rana, narrowly avoiding disaster. Briscoe then unleashed his redneck kung fu and wiped out everyone before Daivari was planted in with a neck breaker. Briscoe launched himself off of a chair, cleaning house on the top rope, and took out the opposition before a Froggy Bow attempting Froggy Bow attempt, I wrote that really weird, that was cut off by Nice. Briscoe was repeatedly cut off on the other side of the ring. There was a Tower of Doom spot at one point that led to Nice hitting a 450 splash for a close near fall. Everyone took turns whipping each other until Briscoe teased a J Driller. Sterling took the ref and Daivari smacked Briscoe with Sterling's clipboard. The 1RM hit by Nice and Woods led to Briscoe kicking out of 2. Lucha Bros then cleared house with some kicks as Nice and Daivari dropped them with an assisted double fear factor. Briscoe then connected with a Froggy Bow on Daivari and picked up the pinfall victory. After the match, Abrahantes tossed Sterling into the ring where he got a fear factor for good measure. So there we go. Fun little pre-show match, I guess you can call it, to get everybody raring to go for the main card. Trying to get some correspondence at the media scrum, but I'm not getting a response from the person I know that's most likely there. So we get more of this pre-show stuff, and eventually they let us know, hey, this final burial is not a buried alive match. It's a casket match. But the casket's all the way at the top of the ramp, like a buried alive match, kind of in a hole. So I saw that a lot of people didn't know that this was going to be a final burial or a casket match. Once they announced it on the pre-show as such, people go, wait, what? Huh? Excuse me. And that is because a lot of people did not watch Rampage, where this match was actually changed. So If all you watched this week was Dynamite, then you saw Christian make the challenge of, oh, I want you in a fight, Jack. I want you in a fight, Jack. Not just a match, a fight. And so the graphic that they post, I don't think it aired on the show, but they put on Twitter afterwards, said, what was it? No holds barred. It said, no holds barred. Then we go to Rampage. And on Rampage, they changed it to the final burial. And when the way they're talking makes it sound like it's a buried alive match, but commentary never says as such. So then we get to the pre-show today, and Tony Schiavone's like, yeah, we got this coffin over here, or this casket over here, and we've got this shovel with a bunch of dirt, and what's going to happen is you're going to put your opponent in the casket, shut the lid, and they're going to fall in the hole. And that's exactly what happened. So it was just a casket match. Not like we haven't seen coffin matches in AEW before, but hey, they had to do something different. So early reports said that match was supposed to open up the show, but it didn't. Show kicked off actually with Jim Ross coming out. Excalibur welcomes us alongside Taz and Jim Ross. And then we're 30 seconds into this show. Nothing has happened yet. And we get a commercial for this show and a DraftKings plug. And I'm like, you know we paid for this pay-per-view. You don't got to sell us on it again. Anyways, the DraftKings thing. Anybody can play for free. Not if you're in California. Can't get on DraftKings and win money because like anyone can get in for free and try to win $25,000. Not if you're in California. We can't win money on DraftKings here in California. Trust me, I know because I do DraftKings for NASCAR and have to do all the $0 games. I can't do anything to where So in California, we can play DraftKings if there is a game that is $0 entry and 0 prizes. Like $0 prizes. But if anything is you can win X amount of money, we can't do it here in California. So hey, AEW and everybody else that keeps saying this, don't say that anybody and everybody can join. Because we can't. Kind of false advertising. So the opening match was Ricky Starks versus Chris Jericho. And the first thing I'm going to say is, what's defined as ringside? Because Sammy Guevara came out towards the end of the match, even though the JAS was banned. It was all good. It was all good. We'll get to it. So Starks has his ribs all taped up from the attack on Dynamite as both men start slugging it out immediately when the match starts. Jericho was sent outside, which allowed Starks to do his pose, his little before a tope. Back inside the ring, Jericho gave Starks a hard... Oh, okay. I didn't write a lot right tonight. I don't know why. Jericho gave Starks a hard buckle to take control. He smacked his head on the turnbuckle. That's what it was. He narrowly missed a lion salt, though. Jericho was hung up on the top rope and was also thrown and crashed into the guardrail. Jericho zoned in on the ribs of Ricky Starks as Starks attempted to come back, only to eat a springboard dropkick on the outside. Starks was back in the ring and mowed Jericho down with a clothesline and set up for a DDT off the ropes. Jericho cut off Starks in the corner and looked for a superplex, but Starks planted Jericho face first onto the mat. Starks then leapt up, but Jericho hit a knee square to the ribs and then a Death Valley driver for a 2. Starks countered a codebreaker attempt to do a powerbomb to regain control. He tried to go for the Rochambeau and a spear, only for Jericho to hit a codebreaker in midair and get a very, very close near fall. Jericho then looked for a top rope dive, but Starks hit a spear for a close near fall of his own. There was another slugfest that ensued as Starks tried a leap off the top, but tweaked his leg to allow Jericho to sink in the walls of Jericho, which Starks did eventually counter into a single-legged crab. This is when Sammy Guevara started running down the ramp. As he got almost to the end of the ramp, he was tackled by Action Andretti. This then takes the attention away of the referee, Aubrey Edwards, who starts yelling at them, "You can't be out here. You got to leave. You got to go. You got to go." And this led to Jericho grabbing the bat, Floyd, and he hits Starks in the ribs with the bat. He then tries to go for the Judas effect, but Starks blocks the Judas effect, hits the Rochambeau, and picks up the victory. So now my question is, what is defined at ringside? So does that mean that the JAS could have all been on the ramp the entire match? They just couldn't go past the ramp because that's considered ringside? Or is it out from the back at all? That one doesn't make sense. If it's out from the back at all, Jericho immediately should have been disqualified since the JAS are banned from ringside. There should have been some sort of consequences. And where did frickin' Accident Andretti come from? Was he chilling off to the side where we couldn't see him the whole time just in case a JAS member came out like they did? Like, the match itself, I enjoyed. I enjoyed Ricky Starks versus Jericho, even though we didn't need it because we already had it with Ricky Starks winning. But the finish of the match fell flat for me because I was too distracted with the Sammy stuff of, wait, I thought Sammy wasn't allowed out here. Wait, why didn't the referee do anything? Wait, why was that not I was too focused on that to care about the finish. And then all of a sudden it just ends like a minute later. So yeah, I felt like that was a slight flump. Was that a word? I don't know. Fumble. In a match that I felt was actually really good. So then we get the final burial, which is basically just a casket match. It was Jungle Boy Jack Perry taking on Christian Cage. I know this is good. Actually, I thought this was really good. Again, finish was weird. Jungle Boy, I don't get why Jungle Boy was conflicted at the end to close the casket, but he was. Or hit the chair. We'll get to it. But overall, I really like this match. I think Jungle Boy and Christian, this is it. They're done for now. Maybe in a year or 2 or 6 months or something, they can fight again. But I think Jungle Boy and Christian work very well together. They have very good chemistry. So after a quick start, Jungle Boy attempted a dive, but Cage bailed deep into the crowd, which Perry chucked a drink at him. Also, that's another thing. Too much shit in the crowd. Like, you do things in certain matches. Like, this is what a producer is for. Where they go, hey, what are your plans for the match? You going to do this? Oh, you're going to fight in the crowd? Okay, I'm going to go relay that to Tony Khan, see if he's cool with it. Well, they relay that to Tony Khan. Tony's supposed to say, oh, wait, this match is already doing crowd stuff. You can't. But when you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 matches with crowd stuff, maybe 5 if I'm remembering correctly. Did the tag match have crowd stuff? I can't remember off the top of my head right now. When you have 4 or 5 matches doing stuff in the crowd, overkill. Again, you have producers for a reason, because then they take what the wrestlers want to do, relay it to the booker, Tony Khan, then he takes all those ideas and goes, all right, so these people want to do crowd stuff, but so do these people. So we'll let you do crowd stuff. You do this instead. We can't have 5 matches doing crowd stuff. Maybe 2 matches doing crowd stuff. But even 2 matches, in my opinion, is a little much of doing similar things. You know what I mean? Because, like, the women's match ended up in the crowd. The Mox Hangman match at one point was in the crowd. This match was in the crowd. The main event, we saw MJF out in the crowd. So it's like, you gotta spread stuff out and be like, everyone can't just keep doing the same stuff. It's just like in matches when someone goes, I want to bleed. Okay, no other match can bleed on purpose. Yet, at least 2 matches did. Anyways, where was I? Christian Cage in his turtleneck, which was great, tried to head up the ramp, but saw the casket and got spooked, allowing Perry to attack again. They go back down to the ring, and Perry tried 10 corner punches, but Christian slid through and slammed Jungle Boy down. Christian then stared down Jungle Boy's family, who was in the front row at one point, as he stood on Jungle Boy's hair, pulling Perry's arms the wrong way. Cage then tried his slingshot right hand into the ropes, but Perry avoided and nailed a tope. Jungle Boy attempted the stomp on the right arm like he did previously in this feud on the steps, but Christian moved his arm, then grabbed the legs of Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy goes flying as far as like his legs fly out from under him, and he just, boom, crashes right on the edge of the steps. Oh, that looked like it hurt. Also, I don't know exactly from what spot, but Christian's bleeding like right all in here. Like Christian's bleeding all in here. And eventually, towards the end of the match, his blood was all down the side of the nose and stuff. Accidental blood, as they call fortuitous juice. Fine with that, because it wasn't on purpose and it wasn't supposed to happen in this match. So Cage finally takes him to the top. He lifts open the casket and boom, 2 chairs. Commentary asked, he set this up before. He must have been planning this all along with those chairs in the cage, or in the casket. Cage then tries to go for concerto, but it's blocked. Perry fought back as both men trade shots, and Cage backdropped Perry on the stage. Cage then tried a kill switch on one of the chairs, but he was sent flying off the stage as Perry hit a somersault dive. Cage then begged off and hit a desperation low blow kick as he closed the casket and drove Jungle Boy repeatedly face first into it. Jungle Boy was placed in the casket, and every time Christian would try to close it, last second, get his arm up to block it. He tried to close it again, arm up to block it. At one point, Christian threw dirt in his eyes and connected with a kill switch outside of the casket. Cage then went for the concerto, but he took his time for a second here, and eventually Jungle Boy moved. Jungle Boy then grabbed a shovel and used the shovel to knock a chair out of Christian's hands. Christian then desperately raked the eyes and missed a shovel shot as Perry locked on a snare trap. He then pulled an edge and took the shovel and stuck it in the mouth of Christian and was raking and just raking and raking and raking it back. Cage then seemed to pass out as Perry set things up. He looked to the heavens and then eventually did hit a concerto. Cage was then rolled into the casket, and Perry took his time before ultimately slamming the casket door, and then the casket falling to the abyss below. Literally, he slammed the casket door, and then half a second later, the casket just goes. Kind of a cool visual, a little hokey, but I liked it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was a cute little thing that we've never seen before. At least not that I've ever noticed. You got the casket, and then it drops out into nowhere. I liked it. I really did. I didn't like the whole Jungle Boy's like, should I close it? Should I? Dad. And then he's looking around like, should I? And he's like looking again. And I'm like, oh, they're stalling for time. Where's Lucha frickin' Saurus? That's all I'm thinking at this point. They're stalling for time for Luchasaurus or somebody to come out and stop this. And no, he just takes his time, and finally, he closed the lid. That was it. Jungle Boy defeats Christian. And throughout the entire match, they kept saying, Jungle Boy wants a belt. Jungle Boy wants to win a title this year. Jungle Boy needs to beat Christian to get that momentum on winning a belt. So, cool. I liked the match. I really did. I thought this was good. Another match I liked, which you would probably think I wouldn't, was a trios title match. Because it was just spot after spot after move after move after boom after boom after boom. But I felt like this was put together better than just a normal spot fest match because things played into things. It wasn't just random move, set it for the next spot. Random move, set it for the next spot. It was like spot that built to the next spot, not random thing just to set up a cool spot. And then you do something, and then set up for a cool. No, things felt like they were done purposely to transition from move to move. These 6 guys worked fantastic together. I enjoyed it so much. So we got the normal entrance that the Bucks and Kenny have been using. Carry on, how wayward son. Don't you cry no more. Then we also got a cool entrance from the House of Black. So, House of Black, the lights go out. We hear the House of Black music or whatever. And then there's this big, I guess it's called a tapestry or whatever, flag, maybe you want to call it or whatever, with this big cloth with the House of Black logo on it, and Julia standing in front of it. All of a sudden, we see the silhouettes of Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews walk in behind it, and then you just hear, poof, the tapestry or whatever you want to call it falls, and boom, there's the House of Black as they walk down to the ring with Julia. I really liked it. Very ominous. Lights go out, and they come back on, they're in the ring, and this and that. I liked it. I liked the little, just something special for them here tonight, especially since they were winning the belts. So Don Callis joined commentary. They called him the unfortunate guest on commentary. And Omega and Matthews did start things out, showing their athleticism with kip-ups and reversals aplenty. Black eventually tagged in and immediately got a "This is awesome" chant before even doing anything with Omega. Like, they just thought it was awesome that these two were in the ring together. Great crowd in San Francisco. And I want to look up if we could figure out the attendance really fast. What is WrestleTix saying? So WrestleTix, nope. That's not what I wanted to. I typed in WrestleTix and it keeps coming up Wardlow. Come on, Twitter, work right. WrestleTix. There we go. Let's see if they had a final number. Final number. So the last thing I'm seeing is from before the show started. Last number they have is 9,001 tickets distributed. Oh, they said they may have another update on their Patreon, but I'm not, subscribed to their Patreon. Let me see. Yeah, they don't even have an update. They have an update. Oh, here we go. This says AEW Revolution, blah, 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 blah. Yes, so their update's not even updated from their Twitter. Because their update on their Patreon, which I could see even though I'm not subscribed, which is weird, says 8,500. But then their Twitter says 9,001. Which everyone's trying to say, oh, this is the most attended wrestling show in San Francisco in the Chase Center. Well, WWE did a Raw there with 9,300. So they possibly drew more for a Raw than AEW drew for a pay-per-view. But anyways, that's beside the point. Good crowd, I will say. Good crowd tonight. So Black countered the speed of Omega and took him down. Both started trading some big shots with each escaping each other's big moves. Matt Jackson then tagged in and demanded King. He's like, I don't want you. I want the big man. And he wanted to fight Brody King, and he realized his mistake and tried to tag Nick in, who, well, wanted no part of it. King overpowered everybody as the House of Black were able to do dives until the Elite jumped back in and went face-to-face and slugfest with the House of Black. Nick hit a nasty slingshot facebuster on Matthews and a somersault to Black outside, as Matt took out both on the floor as well. Omega then sent King to the floor with a Hurricane Rana and connected with a Terminator dive onto the House of Black. Nick hit a 450 splash on King, who kicked out like barely at one, if even that. Might have even been before one. He steamrolled everybody in the Elite going forward. House of Black then cleared house and threw everybody out of the ring, as Nick remained isolated until Omega got the hot tag and ran wild. The Bucks connected on dueling super kicks to Black and Matthews, as King was laid out with the Omega V-trigger to get a 2. Omega tried a snapdragon on King, who countered into a violent lariat shot. The Bucks cut off a triple team attempt, but Black fired off a nasty pump kick and a leg submission on Omega. Matt then broke it up with a dive, as everybody took turns hitting high-impact moves until finally Omega and Black stood tall in the middle of the ring. After a forearm and a knee battle, both men crumbled. Julia then jumped up and distracted Nick long enough to get trapped in a sleeper on the apron by King. Nick almost passed out until Matt made the save with the super kick, and Omega clobbered King with the V-trigger, knocking him off the apron. There were multiple snapdragons on Black by Omega, as Hart again rose to the apron. Omega then tried a one-winged angel. Black wiggled free, and Omega fired off a V-trigger that actually ended up hitting Julia. Black then connected on his home run spin kick, but Omega was bailed out, and Omega bailed out. Oh, okay. Okay. Again, wrote this weird. Black connected with a home run spin kick, but Omega was bailed out by Nick, as Black only got a 2. There was a Dante's Inferno that connected on Omega, but again, the Young Bucks broke up the pin. King wiped out the Bucks outside as Matt was launched into the front row. House of Black surrounded Omega, but it took too long, and the Bucks broke up the pin with the super kick party. The Bucks then tried a Meltzer driver, and this was great. So Matt's got, I think it was Buddy for the Meltzer driver right here. No, Black. He's got Black ready for the Meltzer driver. And as he jumps off to do the splash or whatever you want to call it, boom, Buddy knees him right in the face. Buddy Matthews knees him right in the face midair. Nick was planted with a Dante's Inferno, and House of Black pinned him to become the new AEW Trios champions. Now, I can't say too much on this, but all I will say is dropping the tag titles may not be the only big change for the House of Black or the Elite going forward. But I like this match. I thought this match was awesome. This match ruled. 6 guys that went out there and put on a hell of a contest. Also, remember, guys, if you want to make sure you get your comment, question, or concern read live on the air, you can do it a couple of different ways. If you're watching on Twitch, you could donate some Twitch bits, or you could donate a super chat in the YouTube chat as well. Remember, all donations are greatly appreciated, and it allows us to keep going and make even more content. So then we had the triple threat for the AEW Women's Championship. Now, the match itself had some pretty good moments, I will say, but for the most part, was just all right. And I felt like, to be honest, the whole originals and veterans thing overshadowed the fact that this was a goddamn title match. That's the thing that I really didn't like. That the whole originals and veterans thing overshadowed that the title was actually on the line. So the match itself did see Jamie Hayter defending against Saraya and Ruby Soho. So early on, Saraya took Hayter to the floor until Soho hit a charging dropkick, landing smack dab right on her back. Like, Saraya took down Hayter, she threw her into the barricade, and then she turns around and Ruby launches off the apron, drop kicks her, just splats right on her back. Saraya takes a hard back bump as well. Ooh, man. The match then spills to the crowd. Soho leapt off the railing for a double crossbody with assistance from the security guy. He held her hand like, I hate this shit. If you can't do the move by yourself, don't do it. We don't need random ass people who are not part of the match getting involved helping. Just like last Wednesday in the ladder match when 4 fucking referees held the ladder for Hobbs. No! And we don't need people fucking holding Ruby's hand so she doesn't fall off the barricade. If you can't do the move on your own, then don't do the gosh darn move. That's all I'm going to say. Because it makes it look bad. Because then, not only is she taking her time to grab this guy's hand and to jump up on the barricade and then get her footing and this and that. You've got Saraya and Jamie in the crowd with like their arms over each other. Just like, we're all beat up. We're tired. We can't move. We're not even going to fight each other. We're waiting on Ruby. Ruby, let's go. Come on, Ruby. Ruby. Oh, you finally, ooh, crossbody. So that kind of took me out of it. That was one of those moments where I was like, it made it kind of seem meh. Soho was draped over the railing at one point as we got a singles match briefly with Hayter and Saraya, as it was Hayter who hit a rock bottom on the apron. Soho then flew back in off the top and took out Hayter with a leg sweep. With Soho on her back, Hayter was able to fight off Saraya and hit a double headlock suplex on both ladies. Hayter then connected on a double swing low. There was a sweet lariat on both before the match started breaking down, with Saraya hitting a nightcap on Hayter, Soho hitting a Saito suplex on Saraya, and then Hayter getting back up and laid out Soho with a Hayter breaker. All 3 ladies start slugging it out as Saraya slaps both of them. She's like going, boom, Jamie. Boom, Ruby. And then she goes, stop. And Taz is like, stop? Why'd she say stop? And then she like covers her ears and she's like, I can't take it. And then they just both beat on her. And I'm like, again, another thing that was very weird, awkward, and made no sense. But she gets beat up for a moment as Soho got a 2 on Hayter with a snap Hurricane Rana. We then get a Tower of Doom spot with Saraya, the one standing tall, as she then applies the PTO on Soho before being clobbered with a lariat by Hayter to break the hold. Storm and Baker then jump up on the apron, and they ate shots as well. As Saraya hit a rampage, Soho hit a no future, and Hayter rolled up Soho for a flash out of nowhere. What the hell? Where was that finish? Like, what? It just ended. It just ended. I was writing a tweet that said, things are breaking down in this match. And I never sent the tweet because all of a sudden, ding, ding, ding. I'm like, what? Huh? It's over? Oh. Okay, then. It's over. Good thing Fight TV lets me rewind. Because I was all kinds of like, where'd that finish come from? And yes, Fight TV, because, well, I used the VPN. Pure VPN, not sponsored. Please sponsor us. Use Pure VPN to say that to trick my computer into thinking I'm in the UK. Then I can get the show on Fight TV for $30 cheaper. Because if you get it off of Bleacher Report, you're spending $50. If you get it off of Fight, you're only spending $20. And if you use our code, which is linked on our Twitter and our community tab here on YouTube, well, you sign up with our code, not only do we get a kickback, but you also get $10 credit towards your next purchase on Fight TV. So then post-match, Toni Storm lays out Britt Baker and goes to attack Jamie Hayter with Saraya. Baker broke things up because she wasn't really laid out, and Soho was sitting in the corner just kind of watching. She then eventually throws Storm and Saraya out of the ring to the floor. And she's like, oh yeah, the OGs. And she's sitting there or standing there in the middle of the ring with Saraya or with Hayter and Britt. She even kind of lifts the arm of Hayter to say, yep, she beat us. Here's your champion. And then instead, she takes out both women with a no future. Yep, she takes them both out. Saraya's on the outside laughing. She grabs the spray paint. She hands it to Ruby. And Ruby spray paints the L on both Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, turning heel and officially aligning herself with the outsiders, I guess you can call them, Toni Storm and Saraya. So it's right now, Toni Storm, Saraya, and Ruby against Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. If I'm going to even things up here, I would say on the babyface side, the OG side, well, I'm kind of confused on what OGs really mean. Because when they kept tonight saying OGs, Britt and Jamie, they were like, Britt's an OG. She was one of the first, if not the first woman signed to All Elite Wrestling. Jamie's an OG because she's been with this company since year one. So they're saying that they're OGs because they've been around since the beginning. So my question is, to even this out, and it would make sense because of Ruby, can we place Willow as an OG? Even though she hasn't been around as long as Britt and Jamie. Because on, I want to say, Wednesday, commentary was saying, you know, Ruby's been here for a very long time. Almost longer than half of AEW's existence. Like, she came less than halfway through AEW's existence, so she's been in AEW. Basically, they tried to say that AEW's been around, this is the 4th year, she's been around for 2.5 years, so she should be considered an OG, because she was in the first, part of the company's existence. So if that's the case as well, Willow, who just came within the last year, could she even be considered an OG? I don't understand exactly what the parameters are for an OG. I get it. The veterans are people that made their name outside of the company or worked for major promotions outside of AEW or they still haven't really clarified it all. So Ruby's a heel. She's now on the team of Toni and Saraya. And then we had the thing. We had the Texas Death. It was Hangman Page and Jon Moxley. Basically, they tried to play this off as it was Bruiser Brody, Jon Moxley, against Stan Hansen, Hangman Page. And they tried to make this match as violent and bloody and creative as hell. And kudos, It was. I will give him that. But I'm not the demo for this. I'm not the one for you got to bleed all the time, fucking John. Or you got to do bodily harm to yourself, real damage to get it over. It's not all needed. There's a difference between having a hardcore match and a train wreck or a car crash that's fucking yourself up on purpose. Basically, they said that the only way to win this match is with either a knockout where someone cannot get to their feet after a 10 count or by submission with somebody quitting. So we get a cool little video of Hangman Page before he comes out, and then Hangman got new music. I don't know if this is just for the pay-per-view or going forward, but we got Riders in the Sky by the Outlaws for frickin' Hangman Page, which... cool song. Really like the song. But out of most of the music in AEW, Hangman's theme was like my favorite. Like, Hangman's theme was one of my favorite AEW themes. I know they may have taken that away from us for Riders in the Sky. Like, cool song, Riders in the Sky. Like, cool song. Really like it. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this one. So we come out, or they come out. Moxley gets his Wild Thing entrance to the crowd. And we see there's barbed wire boards placed all around. And Page used a strand of barbed wire pretty early. He wraps it across the head of Moxley, who, you guessed it, was busted open very, very early on in this match. Page then at one point wrapped the barbed wire around his book and tried to stomp. But Moxley turned the tide, biting Page. Moxley then clobbered Page with barbed wire for payback. And Page was bleeding as well. Both men, stuffed pigs, bleeding all over from their backs, from their arms, from their head. Then, Hangman, I guess, isn't bleeding enough. Moxley's got Hangman on the ground in a triangle choke with his legs. He then grabs a fork and just starts stabbing and turning. And stabbing and turning. And then stabbing the fork into the forehead of old Hangman. Making him bleed and bleed and bleed. And bleed some more. So, where was I? Moxley at one point searches for a chair wrapped in barbed wire, and Taz goes, I've seen many barbed wire wrapped chairs in my day, but not one with that much barbed wire on it. He sets it up in the corner. Page tried to charge, but was sent face first into the chair, leaving a bloody imprint. There was a half crab over the barbed wire chair at one point by Moxley that got an audible gasp from the crowd, as did a brutal chair shot to the back of Hangman. Moxley then sets two chairs up back to back. They're covered kind of in barbed wire, but as he dished out 10 punches in the corner, Hangman would get out of it and power bombed Jon Moxley through one of the chairs that had barbed wire on it. Page then wrapped his torso up in barbed wire, cut himself in the process, doing a huge moonsault from the top rope to the floor. This looked bad. Also, even before this, he had put a chair at ringside and placed one of the barbed wire boards up against it. So when he does the moonsault, not only does he knock Moxley down, he knocks Moxley into the board where Taz must not have been paying attention. And he goes, oh, that must have hurt when Moxley got slammed on that board that he set up himself. I'm like, no, Page set that up about 5 minutes ago, Taz. Pay attention. So, where was I? I cannot find my spot all of a sudden. Oh, Page took too long to set up a chair at ringside with the barb. Yeah, no, I read that. Moxley roll. They're in the ring and they start going. No, I take it back. Okay, here we go. Moxley gets into the ring. Eventually, Hangman jumps into the ring, but Moxley hits him with an RKO out of nowhere. Moxley then rolls to the outside and grabs a big ass chain, like a real ass chain, and 2 bricks. Crowd realizes he's got these bricks, and they start chanting, "You sick fuck! You sick fuck! You sick fuck!" Moxley takes it all into the ring. And what does he do? He takes one of the bricks, slaps it down. He takes Hangman's hand, puts it on the brick. Takes the other brick, places it on top of Hangman's hand, so Hangman's in a brick sandwich, and he stomps on it. He stomps the bricks with the hand in between. And then it's a picture-perfect pile driver on the chain that was kind of all wrapped together as Page got up around 7 as the ref was counting it. Moxley then hog-ties Page, but Page bit the hand of Moxley, flipped Moxley off, and hit a palm strike, knocking Moxley down. Page then hit a back suplex and a lariat to create some distance. Page then wrapped his arm in barbed wire and hit a rolling elbow strike before hitting a follow-away slam onto the barbed wire chair. Page then followed this up with a nasty-looking deadeye on the barbed wire chair as Moxley rolled to the floor at 9. Page then hit a slingshot dive and sent Moxley to the ground. Moxley then starts laughing as he's laying on that barbed wire board. Page was then crotched in the ropes at one point as Moxley pulled the strand of barbed wire and raked the back. He literally grabbed the barbed wire and just cutting at the back of Hangman Page. As Page was then I read that Page then rakes it across the face though of Jon Moxley. Moxley then jolted up off a chair and tossed Page to the floor through another set of barbed wire boards. Page just beat the 10 count to get back to his feet as he rolled into the ring and into a King Kong lariat from Moxley that fired him up, and they traded more shots. Page then tried the buckshot, but Moxley countered into the Death Rider and a curb stomp on one of the bricks. Moxley and Page then slowly rose as Page threw everything behind the lariat. Page stacked the bricks on their side, on one side of the ring, and looked to deadeye Jon Moxley onto them, but didn't really get it off. Moxley then hit a mule kick low, but as he charged, Page clobbered him with one of the bricks. With the chain wrapped around Moxley's neck, he goes for the buckshot lariat. He then knocks Moxley down. Moxley then gets thrown over the top rope. Moxley's got the chain around his neck. Hangman is yanking the chain, so Moxley's hanging from the top rope, basically the chain around his neck, and eventually Moxley taps out because he can't breathe as he's being hung by the Hangman over the top rope. Now, here's the thing I'm going to say. Recapping this match actually made me like it more than when I watched it. And you may say, how is that? Because all the freaking blood took me out of this match. But now recapping it and rethinking about the spots and the things that happened in this match, I'm like, damn, really good match by these guys. Great match by these guys. But all the blood, to me, made it feel hokey. Like, oh, we got to bleed just to make this thing even seem good, seem great. We got to bleed to make it seem awesome, and da-da-da-da. But now thinking about it, without the elements of I'm watching these guys just bleed and bleed and bleed, I'm liking it a lot more. I'm going to send a tweet out right now about that. So let me do this really fast. I'm going to send a tweet saying, whoops, that didn't work. Yep, why did that not go? So I am recapping hashtag AEW Revolution. And in doing so, I have realized I liked the Texas Death Match more than I thought. The reason is thinking about how good the match is without seeing all the blood helped me appreciate the match itself and And the work of Mox and Hangman instead of. Oh, no, I'm going to rephrase that because I don't have enough. Match itself instead of seeing the blood as a crutch. So I typed, so I'm recapping AEW Revolution, and in doing so, I have realized I'd like to take this death match more than I thought. The reason is, comma. No, comma. The reason is thinking about, let's put the reason. No, that doesn't make sense. The reason is thinking about how is deathmatch. I am only thinking about how good the match was without seeing all the blood. Hold on. This isn't making sense now. So I'm recapping AEW Revolution, and in doing so, I have realized I liked the Texas Deathmatch more than I thought. I am only thinking about how good the match was without seeing all the blood. Help me appreciate the match itself instead of seeing the blood as a crutch. I think that makes sense. That makes sense. Also, I need to stay off Twitter because everyone's tweeting about The Last of Us, and I haven't watched The Last of Us yet tonight. Oh my god, people were like, "This show is great." Anyways, back to the recap. But yeah, so thinking about it, I liked the match for what it was. The blood was not needed. All this Moxley bleeding all the time, not needed. If you could just go out there and have a great match, just two guys beating the crap out of each other and having a match, cool. But when you have to bleed every single time you're in the ring, it pulls me away from it. It really pulls me away from it. And I'm gonna take this tweet down for now, because I don't feel like I wrote it right. So I'm gonna think about it and retweet it after we're done here with the podcast, the way I could think and phrase it right, because it's just not phrased correctly. Anyways, we then had Wardlow and Mojo for the TNT Championship, and these two had a hard match to follow, and that's, yeah. Like, these two had a good match. I will say I really did like this match. Wardlow tried a fast start, but Joe hung him up throat first on the ropes and delivered an elbow suicida. Joe lit up Wardlow inside the ring with some jabs, but Wardlow quickly turned the tides, scaling the ropes with a whisper in the wind. Yes, Wardlow literally ran up the ropes and did a Jeff Hardy whisper in the wind. I'm like, oh, he did a what the whisper in the wind. And he actually hit Joe, unlike when Jeff Hardy did it and didn't hit the Jinder Mahal. Anyways, Wardlow kept Joe grounded as we saw Powerhouse Hobbs watching from a suite up above. Remember, Powerhouse will face the champion on Wednesday. Joe then clipped the leg with a sweep to regain control as Hobbs was smiling because he liked seeing Joe in control. Joe then continued to work over the leg, crumbling Wardlow below him. Wardlow then fought back and hit a spinebuster and an F10 as he hit a perfect senton atomico off the top rope for a 2. Joe ducked a lariat and got the coquina clutch in, but Wardlow made it to the ropes to break the hold. Joe kept pouring in shots and stuff until Wardlow hit a powerbomb out of the corner. Wardlow tried another, but Joe popped up with a lariat. Joe tried to go for his own powerbomb symphony, but Wardlow escaped into a headbutt and a coquina clutch. Joe's arm would drop 1, 2, 3, passed out, and there we go. Wardlow, new TNT champion. So the match kind of just similar to the women's title match. kind of just ended. Like, I felt like it was ramping up and ramping up and ramping up. Didn't quite climax. And then was just over. And I was like, oh. Because, like, Joe tries to go for the Powerbomb Symphony. Doesn't get it. Then we're like, oh, my God. Wardlow's got him in the Coquina Clutch. Joe obviously is going to get out, and then it's going to lead to Wardlow hitting the Powerbomb. But instead, they just have Joe pass out, which is very kind of weird. But I don't know if I like Wardlow beating him with the choke. I'm not sure if I like that or not. Overall, I liked the match, though. So then we had boring-ass match. A match that meant nothing to me. And just a lot of bullshit. Hey, Tony Khan, just because your matches are multi-man or multi-team matches, and so that means it's no DQ, doesn't mean there has to be all this outsider interference. Always, whenever there's multi-person matches, whether it's a triple threat, whether it's a fatal four-way, and they go, oh, well, because there's multiple people, it can't have a DQ. Well, then that leads to a lot of outside interference, and that was what this was. So Jarrett and Cassidy start off the match. There's a Fargo strut, hands in the pockets galore. Cassidy hit a series of backdrops before a locomotion clothesline by Danhausen led to a Hurricane Run on Lethal. But Colton tagged in and beat up the man who coined the term ass boys in Danhausen. And I thought it was very, very fitting that the Guns pinned Danhausen to retain the titles. Because he's the one that started the ass boys thing. So the Acclaim saw their first action of the match as they laid out Sanjay Dutt with the Scissor Me Timbers. Like, really, Sanjay's not even in this match. Why are you worried about Sanjay? Oh, that's right, because nothing really matters in this match. This match was just a lot of bullshit. They then laid out the Guns as well. Bones was isolated at one point by the Guns. Jarrett and Lethal all worked together and did a quadruple Fargo strut. Finally, Caster got the hot tag and cleared house. He pulled the imaginary straps down and dropped Lethal with an angle slam. He looked around and he was like, he grabs him, woo, angle slam. I thought that was funny. I liked it. I popped. The Guns finally turned on Lethal and Jarrett, and Satnam Singh got in the ring and threw the Guns outside. Danhausen tried to curse Singh, but Dutt shoved him out of the way. Danhausen then broke the pencil and booted Dutt as Cassidy hit an orange punch. Low blow. There was an orange punch, and then there was a low blow by Danhausen that led to Billy jumping in the ring and Daddy Ass hitting that famouser on Singh. Well, barely. He barely got up enough to hit the famouser on Singh because Singh didn't bend down low enough. The Guns then low blowed the Daddy as the Acclaim picked them apart. The arrival and the mic drop on Austin led to Colton making the save off of a pin. Bowens was then sent into the crowd as Lethal tossed Jarrett a guitar. Caster avoids the guitar shot and grabs it. He then goes to hit Jarrett with it, and Aubrey grabs it from him. I'm like, Aubrey, let it go. It's no DQ, goddammit. So I don't know why she stopped it if it's no DQ. I mean, we already saw other people get involved, and she didn't do anything about that. Her and Jeff then get into a shoving match, and then becomes the Aubrey fucking show. I hate fucking Aubrey Edwards when she does this shit. Lethal then smacks Caster with the Golden Globe, and Jarrett hits the stroke for a 2. They then again have the shoving thing, and Taz is like, shouldn't that be a DQ? He shoved the referee. Nothing really matters. Nothing really fucking matters. Taz, you're trying to use logic when there is no logic. Danhausen then misses a pump kick on Colton as Colton wipes him out with a 310 to Yuma, and boom, they retain the belts. The Guns beat Danhausen, and again, I found that very fitting that they beat Danhausen to retain because Danhausen is the one that coined the phrase ass boys. Post-match, Renee Paquette comes down and she interviews them about retaining the belts. They claim to be the best tag team in the world, and then we hear a boom, 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 boom. Out comes FTR. Dax and Cash come down to the ring to a huge ovation from the crowd in San Francisco. And then they get in the ring and they start going at it with the Guns. And they're going at it, and they're going at it, right? And they're going at it. And then all of a sudden the Guns get thrown out of the ring. Dax bends down to grab one of the tag belts to signify we want these belts. And he's just pouring blood out the side of his face, right from the side, his like eye down. And I'm like, what the hell? And Taz was like, oh, it looks like Dax got busted open in that little scuffle. Not sure exactly how that happened. Well, they also hit, they spiked Colton with the pile driver, and they hit the Shatter Machine on Austin. Weird that they called it the Shatter Machine on commentary and not the Big Rig. And yeah, Dax was busted open somehow in this 30 to 60 second brawl. They held up the tag titles, and then they threw him down to the guns, basically saying, hey, we're coming for your belts next, brother. Then we have our main event. But before we get to our main event, we got to tell you that this podcast, this AEW Revolution review, is brought to you by the brand new game that's still in development, Ultra Pro Wrestling. A new wrestling game which serves as a love letter to the classic wrestling games of the late 90s. Ultra Pro Wrestling is a sandbox game that encourages players to create/edit their own wrestling superstars, promotions, and events. Fight for the UPW Championship title in ranked online matches, or play through a multitude of match types in a deep and dynamic single-player career. And with that, let's check out the trailer for Ultra Pro Wrestling.
Welcome to Ultra Pro Wrestling.
All right, guys. So if you are interested in supporting Ultra Pro Wrestling, head over to the link in the chat or the description and support them on Kickstarter. You can go to Kickstarter.com or Kickstarter.ultraprowrestling.com. So then, we have our main event. It is the 60-minute Iron Man match for the AEW World Championship. And they did the thing. They did the goddamn dumb, stupid ass thing. We're going to be tied, and we're going to go to a time limit draw. And then we're going to go to overtime. But what made this time limit draw just that much dumber was the fact that, and we'll get to it, we'll recap this whole dang thing that I did not like. It goes 3, 2, 1, ding, 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 match is over. And soon as the bell rings, MJF's tapping. Immediately after the match. They get Danielson off of him. I'm getting ahead of myself because I really hated this finish. This fucking sucked. We'll get to it. I'm not going to jump ahead. We'll get to it. We'll recap this goddamn hour-long match to where an hour of this match didn't matter. They made us sit through an hour and 5 minutes to where only 5 minutes of this even mattered. Don't even get me on MJF needs oxygen, but all of a sudden he's fine at the. Excalibur noted that there are no reset periods between falls. As soon as a fall happens, the match just keeps going. No, make sure you're ready, and then keep going. Danielson gets a normal entrance. MJF gets an entrance with some violins and some big old basses and stuff, and he's wearing the devil mask. Early on, MJF stalled for the first couple of minutes, then tried to out-grapple Danielson, only to draw a smirk. Both men then matched each other move for move, as it was a flat-out back and forth early on before both kipped up into a stalemate. MJF then jumped into the crowd, dumped a trash can, and splashed water on a fan. A little kid, actually. MJF then popped Taz here as he looked into the crowd, asking Dave if this will cost him a star. And the Daniel... So MJF popped Taz when he goes, "Hey, Dave, is this going to cost me a star? Am I not going to win the Bryan Danielson Award?" I liked that. There were more reversals back inside before Danielson lit up MJF with some kicks, only for MJF to drive Danielson face first into the corner and take control. After multiple back body drops, Danielson gave a Jushin Liger bomb to MJF, but MJF drove his shoulder into the corner and got a water break. There's a bunch of these damn water breaks, too. MJF then burned too much time messing with the fans as Danielson hit a baseball slide, but during a tope, MJF threw Danielson's shoulder into the railing, and there was a DDT spike back inside. Danielson hit a sunset flip powerbomb out of the corner 15 minutes into the match, and there were some kicks and a charging corner attack that followed. There was a corner Hurricane Rana that got Danielson a 2, but MJF answered right back with a double stomp to the bad arm, and then there was a powerbomb on his knees. Danielson tried to skin the cap, but MJF hit a super kick and an HBK pose. MJF tried a springboard moonsault to the floor, tweaked his knee, and Danielson hit a tope. Danielson nearly drove into the salt of the earth as MJF hit a Made in Japan to spike Danielson for a 2. There were an extended series of near falls of nearly every variety that led to both men trading lariats into the double down spot. Danielson would kip up first, hit a Busaku knee, and pin MJF at the 26-minute mark to make it 1-0. And then shit hits the fan, and nobody knows what the fuck is going on. So MJF hits a low blow, ref does nothing, and MJF immediately jumps on Danielson 1, 2, 3. Then MJF gets up and jumps right back on Danielson 1, 2, 3. Ref counts again. So you would think, okay, 2-1 MJF, because the ref never called for the DQ. Then they pull up the damn scoreboard and it says 0 MJF, 2 Danielson. And Taz and Shivani, no, Taz and Excalibur, super confused at this point. They're like, wait, isn't it 2-1, 2-2, 1-2? What? It should be this, that. And then Excalibur's like, well, actually, if the DQ counts, it should be 2-2. But the ref never called the DQ, but they put it on the scoreboard anyways. Isn't it ref's call? If the ref doesn't call the DQ for the low blow, why does Danielson get the goddamn point? That made no sense to me. I get why Danielson got the point because of the low blow, but if the ref doesn't acknowledge it as a goddamn low blow DQ, then you shouldn't be giving Danielson the actual point there, because the ref didn't signal point Danielson DQ. So, yeah. Nick's in the chat. Nick was actually there live. Said, great pay-per-view. 10 out of 10. 10 was hot as hell. Shit was goated. So, Danielson blocks the Heat Seeker at one point and responded with a missile dropkick, but each man ran into lariats from the other outside. Danielson hit a sprinting dropkick at the 30-minute mark and locked on the figure 4 inside, but a rope break got MJF free. Both traded pile driver attempts on the apron before Danielson chopped MJF down with some kicks. While he set up in the corner, MJF sent Danielson to the floor and wiggled free the camera on the top rope, or on the turnbuckle post or whatever. MJF then cleared the ring attendance table, set up Danielson, and hit a massive top rope elbow drop through the table. Danielson broke the count at 9 to get back in the ring, but MJF made him pay as he hit a tombstone through the remnants of the table, clutching his bad knee as Danielson was now busted open. There was a heat seeker that connected flush, and MJF went up 3-2 with 19 minutes left in the match. MJF starts talking more trash as he looks right into the camera, mentioning Danielson's children by name, Buddy and Birdie, saying, hey, I told you I was going to beat down your daddy, and what am I doing? What am I doing? With 15 minutes left, Danielson has nothing behind his punches as MJF blew a snot rocket right at him. The action spills to the outside, and Danielson launches MJF into the railing and hit a diving knee off the apron. Danielson connects with a high crossbody off the top to the floor as MJF was crotched back inside the corner. There was a superplex that led to Danielson driving a headbutt and busting open MJF. Well, actually, there was the German off the top rope, and then MJF blading. And then there's a spot where MJF's laying there with his hand kind of out like this. Bryce Remsburg walks over, grabs the blade out of MJF's hand, and then goes on from there. So, yeah, MJF with a deep cut blade. Blade job. Where was I? MJF's gushing blood, which is actually worse than, he was bleeding more than Moxley and Hangman. There was a Busaku knee that led to a Regal stretch, and MJF tapped with 10 minutes left, making this match tied at 3-3. Danielson wasted no time trying to go after MJF, and quickly, MJF quickly locked in the salt of the earth as Danielson countered into a label lock, with the blood allowed MJF to wiggle free, making his face very slippery. He was able to get out of the arms of Danielson and get the armbar back on. After trapping nearly every limb of Danielson got to the top rope at one point. He headbutted and forearm exchanged with MJF, and both collapsed, with Danielson smiling and MJF crying with 5 minutes to go. Danielson then hit a home run forearm, but MJF answered with another heat seeker for a 2. MJF connected with an avalanche tombstone that looked like he drilled Danielson a little too hard, but MJF took too long because his knee was hurting him to actually go for a cover or anything, and Danielson got a single-legged crab with 1 minute left, and he wrenches it and wrenches it and wrenches it for that entire minute, and we're getting down there, and there's 30 seconds left, and he's wrenching it, and MJF tries to go for the ropes, and Danielson pulls him back, and then MJF almost taps out, but instead he bites his hand so he can't tap, and then for some reason, Danielson grabs the arm of MJ, well, not for some reason, kind of, but he grabs the arm of MJF and wrenches it back. So MJF's got his leg all trapped up, his arm all trapped up, and the referee's like, they got 10, or the announcer, Justin Roberts, 10 seconds remaining. And we get down to 3, 2, 1, ding, 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 and then MJF furiously taps out. So trainers and everything jump into the ring. Danielson jumps up, and he's all like raring to go, and he still wants to fight, and MJF's just laying there. And they start to administer oxygen. They got an oxygen tank, and they put the thing on the face of MJF, and they're giving him oxygen, and they call the match a draw. And we go to commentary, and all of a sudden they look at Tony Schiavone with the camera, and he's like, yeah, oh, really, yeah, okay, I'd gladly be going, okay, yeah, I'd gladly go down there and announce this. Oh, for sure, yeah, love to. And they're like, what's going on? What's going on, Schiavone? And he's like, give me 1 second. I got to go tell something to Justin Roberts. So Schiavone makes his way down to the ring, and he's talking with Justin Roberts and the referee, Bryce Remsburg, and we can hear what he's saying because the camera's right up on them. And Excalibur goes, oh my God, did you just hear that? And Justin Roberts says, well, by orders of Tony Khan, because the crowd at this point is booing, chanting bullshit. And Justin Roberts says, by orders of Tony Khan, he says that this match cannot end in a draw, and this match is going into overtime. This is going to sudden death. Next fall wins the match. And think about this. During this entire time, the goddamn doctor is giving MJF oxygen. Then all of a sudden, they announce overtime, and MJF's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Sudden death rules. Danielson goes for a schoolboy very early, MJF. gets out of it, and goes for a low blow. So the ref doesn't see the low blow because Danielson's behind MJF, and MJF takes Bryce Remsburg's head and puts it into his chest so he can't see anything, and he mule kick backs to the low blow. So he only gets a 2 off of the low blow. MJF then tries to use the belt as the referee. I was like, don't do it or I'll DQ you. MJF then tries to go for the diamond ring, and he actually misses it. Danielson hits a poison rana and a Busaku knee. MJF kicks out. Danielson then locks in a half crab as Bryce notices the ring and took it from the ropes. There was then a rope break by MJF, but he taps at the same time. So because the rope break and the tapping at the same time, the tap doesn't count. Which again, dumb. MJF slips out of the ring because Danielson lets go of the whole thinking, I won, he tapped out. I won. Well, he realizes he didn't win. The ref tells him, hey, it's not over. That was a rope break, not a tap out. And Danielson reaches out of the ring to grab MJF, and MJF cracks him in the head with the oxygen tank. Bryce Remsburg never sees it. MJF then jumps into the ring and applies the label lock on Bryan Danielson, who we think is unconscious. His arm starts to drop 1. His arm starts to drop 2. His arm starts to drop. No, he hulks up. You can't stop me yet. Danielson starts to fade, though, and shocks everybody when he ultimately taps out. MJF retains the belt. Wasn't a big fan of the match. And then you have all these fucking homers on fucking social media. Greatest Iron Man match of all time. Greatest Iron Man match of all time. Dude, I can name you 5 that I thought was better. Shawn, Brett, WrestleMania. Kurt, Brock, SmackDown. AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Bound for Glory. Triple H, The Rock, Judgment Day. Bayley, Sasha Banks, NXT TakeOver. I don't remember which TakeOver, but it was the TakeOver after Brooklyn. I thought those 5 were better than this one because of the stupid ass. I said it on Twitter because someone goes, what's the chances of, this and this and this happens? I go, I bet you it goes to a draw. I bet you this damn match goes to a draw. And it was Mike Straw that said that. He said, and I'll go read his tweet really fast. Mike Straw said, let's see if I can find it now. The longer this goes without a fall, the more I get nervous they're going to do a 0-0 draw. And then I said, well, don't you think it's going to end up happening and they go overtime? And he says, I hope not. Well, that's exactly what they did. They went overtime. It was blatantly obvious they were going to go overtime because it's a Tony Khan trope. He loves to do that kind of stuff. Overbook things. And this match was overbooked, I felt. This match was overbooked. So, especially when they did the whole, you lost to your own finisher. Oh, wait, we did that already in this show. How did Wardlow win again? Oh, that's right. He had Joe lose to his own move. He put Joe in the Coquina clutch and won the belt. And then you do the same thing in the main event. Really? It's shit like that turns me off from these AEW shows. You don't have basically the same finish in 2 title matches where somebody beats a guy with his own submission. It's just fucking dumb. But with that, that's everything that I thought of AEW Revolution. Again, didn't hate the show. Didn't love it. Thought it was a really, really good show, but I wouldn't call it great. Nick called it 10 out of 10, but it's different when you're there live. Just saying. But with that, guys, that's everything that I thought about AEW Dynamite. Now it's time to hear what you guys thought of the show as far as the polls do go. Let's see. Let's go refresh all the polls. Come on. Oh, there it is. I was going to say, I didn't see the YouTube community poll for some reason. Come on. As far as the Twitch poll does go, 90% liked the show, 10% thought it was just all right. As far as the Twitter poll does go, 73% liked the show, 15% thought it was just all right, and 10% did not like it. As far as the YouTube community poll does go, 75% liked the show, 15% thought it was just all right, and 10% did not like it. Some of the comments here says, 8 out of 10, great show. This person says, love the main event. This person says, I liked it. This person says, amazing main event. And this person says, it was a great show. And finally, the YouTube community, or the YouTube live poll. Fonzie, I don't think it was the end, because the end, I can look this up. The end was Joe Finn in the cage, and that wasn't in Full Sail, I don't think. Hold on. Bailey, Sasha, Iron Woman. I almost said the end as well, and then I was like, wait, no, that's not. That's not the same one. Respect. NXT TakeOver, respect. Because the end was the end of the Joe Finn feud in the cage. And that wasn't at Full Sail. YouTube live poll, 76% liked the show, 15% thought it was just all right, and 7% did not like it. So with that, guys, that's going to wrap everything up here. I want to say thank you for joining me here. Twitch.tv/PW Unlimited, YouTube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited, or if you're listening later, whether that's on any YouTube or podcast platforms like Twitter or Stitcher, Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, and so much more. Remember, I will be back live tomorrow morning for the wrestling wrap-up, and then tomorrow evening for Monday Night Raw. So with that, guys, have a great rest of your Sunday. I'm going to go watch The Last of Us. Have a good one. See you next time, guys.